Hey y'all, this is Trina coming in to do a video response to Amy, aka Projectsparetimes video review that she did, a video that she uploaded on Let's Go Back in Time for a Minute, and regarding the Real Housewives of New Jersey. And she wants you to, like, do you notice anything? What do you notice about the characters and stuff? So it's just me coming in to give my brief synopsis on what I saw and what I think, and to give you a little more information about what was going on with Danielle and what Caroline and Dina's and Jacqueline's concerns were with Danielle at the time. So anyway, so here I go. So I hope my lips are going with the video. I don't know what the heck is going on with my webcam, or it could be YouTube is on it today. I don't know. But anyway, here we go. Okay, so on this episode clip that Amy put up regarding the Real Housewives of New Jersey, it looks like this was the season 1 episode. It's either the season 1 episode or I think it was the season 2 reunion episode, where Danielle's discussing what happened, what she thought was going on regarding the book. If you watch the episode, you'll see Danielle thought it was Dina who brought out the information regarding the book, and it turns out it was Caroline, and Caroline had told her. Remember, Caroline at the restaurant was like, look, it was me, it wasn't Dina, it was me, I'm the one who outed you regarding the book, and it's my fault. So if you want to be mad at somebody, be mad at me. It wasn't Dina. Da 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 da. And you see Danielle saying, you know what? I'm sorry. I thought it was her, but I was going on the spoken word. And of course, Caroline's like, it's spoken. That's hearsay. That's not fact. That's or the spoken. That's hearsay. That's not fact. So anyway, so Danielle humbled herself, and she was like, you know what, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry. Instead of going by what other people say, from now on, I'll judge. I'll get to know a person. I'll judge a person on what I've come to know them as versus what people are saying. And I'm sorry. I apologize for that. And from what it looked like Dina. Dina seems to be just like. She seems to be such a humble, kind, and nice person. Don't y'all think so? She just seems, she seems just so non-confrontational, but, if you push her there, she'll go there with you, obviously, as we've seen, on the season that she was on. But for the most part, she seems to have a very loving, forgiving spirit about her. And, Caroline could use to learn a lot from Dina, and and Caroline kept saying, "You're just a better person than I am. You're just a better person than I am," and I believe that's a correct statement. I think Dina is genuinely a better person than Caroline, and then of course Dina's like, no, that's not what this is about. It's not about me being better than you. She realized she made a mistake. She said she was in a dark place when she did what she did, and so if what she's saying is true, and she's truly sorry for what she's done and stuff, then we'll take it from there. We won't be best friends, but we'll take it from there. But if y'all are wanting to know, it's like, this book, what is this book that Caroline said she went to the library and got, and now is questioning, whether she want to be around Danielle or not. Okay, I happen to have the book. I ordered the book, and here it is, y'all. I don't know if y'all can see it, but here it is, Cop Without a Badge. It's an autobiography on Kevin Mayer. Danielle Staub, or aka Beverly Morrell, is her God-given name, but they dated. And in this book, on chapter 15, this Kevin Mayer, who basically this book is an autobiography on Kevin Mayer. Just how can I do this without taking up so much time? Bottom line is, Kevin Mayer grew up on the wrong side of the tracks. He had very humble upbringing, if I can talk. And he, started hanging out with the wrong crowd. He started stealing cars and stuff, and he started stealing very high-end cars and then selling them to these chop shops, and of course making money that way. And then of course he got into drugs, and he started, in on the drug dealing scene. He got connected to all the major drug dealers. He got involved with the mafia, and so on and so on. Anyway, he gets busted and he goes to prison. I haven't read the whole thing thoroughly because I only bought this because I was interested in the Danielle story. But bottom line is, while he was in prison, he decided to become a prison informant, and of course, or a police informant. I guess they make lots of money. Like, hey, if we're going after, do you know anything about this shady person, this mafia person over here, because we kind of want to take him down? Can you go infiltrate his organization and find out as much as you can so we can take him down? So he will go in, and snitch, basically. He is snitch, or a rat, as they like to say in the mafia world. He'd go in, infiltrate it, and then report back to the police to take, these high-ranking drug dealers and stuff and cartels down. So, and because so becoming an informant, he decided he wanted to become a police officer, but because of his felony convictions, it prevented him from doing so. So the closest thing he could come to being a police officer or a cop was being a police informant, hence his book he wrote, A Cop Without a Badge. From what I understand, Kevin Mayer is now a private detective, now living in California, so it sounds like he's doing extremely well. But anyway, back to why we're here, the Danielle situation. This is what Caroline and those guys were tripping about when they got this book. It's on chapter 15, y'all. If y'all go get the book, or if you go to the library, just go and read chapter 15. Him and his buddy that he calls Uribe are in New Jersey, and they decide, his friend Uribe says, hey man, look, why don't we just take a trip up to go up to Florida and hang out and go to the penthouse, as they like to call it, and hang out. So they go up there. Takes them 16 hours to get there. They go up to this penthouse where this major drug dealers hanging out doing drugs, and of course all these, as Kevin describes them as coke whores, are all in the room. Black girls, white girls, blondes, brunettes, is all in there. And of course Danielle happens to be one of the, as he called them, coke whores in the room. Their eyes meet, and he likes her, and he's starting to talk to her, and Kevin's friend is like, hey man, be careful what you say to her. So this is where I'm going to pick up at. Okay, I'm going to put my glasses on because y'all can't get old, can't read without my glasses. Okay, so this is, again, chapter 15 in the book, Cop Without a Badge by Kevin Mayer. Okay, can you see that? I hope you can see it. Okay, and this is on I'm starting on page 235. Okay, so I'm right at the top. It says, yeah, Uribe says, but I want to warn you, Mayer's heart dropped. Be careful what you tell her, Uribe continued. She just got busted for extortion, kidnapping, and possession. She's out on $10,000 bail. Mayer smiles. He has expected to hear worse. Uribe noticed Mayer's grin. Did you hear me? Yeah, John, I heard you. Mayer returned and stared at Uribe. What happened? Some rich kid from Buffalo owed a dealer $25,000. The kid kept saying he didn't have the money, but the drug dealer knew the father was some rich old F-U-C-K. So the drug dealer grabbed the kid, beat the SHIT out of him for 3 days, didn't feed him, kept telling the kid that if his father didn't send money, he was going to kill him. Ooh, excuse me. So, what did Beverly have to do with it? Ooh, excuse me. Allergies, y'all. Okay, what did Beverly have to do with it? Mayer asked, already making excuses for her. Speaking of Danielle. She was there, man, Uribe said with a sigh. She was there through the whole effing thing. She was partying with the drug dealer for a month straight. How did they get busted? They took the kid to a payphone and made him call his father. They told the old man, send money now. So the old man wired money through Western Union. Real smart, Mayor said with a laugh. The old FUCK called the cops, right? Yeah, the FBI followed the drug dealer and Beverly back to the house. Then the cops burst into the place firing, Uribe paused. They killed 3 German Shepherd puppies. Aww, Uribe said with a sigh, his voice dripping with disgust. Effing cops shot 3 puppies. They didn't have to do that. Mayor and Ruby stood in a silent vigil for a moment. Then they both stared at Beverly. Don't get me wrong, Ruby said. Maybe she's a good girl, but she's on bail, man, facing time. That's why I told you to be careful. The feds are going to try and turn her. I know they are. Mayor smiles again and says, no, John, the feds aren't going to turn her. I am. Okay, so this is Kevin Mayor's version of the story. Now, Danielle says, that's not true. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I was just coming to see my boyfriend. I didn't know that, number one, I didn't know that my boyfriend was a drug dealer. I didn't know he was engaged in a drug deal that had went bad. I didn't know he had kidnapped anybody. Excuse me, guys. My allergies is killing me and my nose is kind of running, so I apologize. So in her book, in fact, I don't know why I took my glasses off. In Danielle's book, The Naked Truth, the real story behind the Real Housewives of New Jersey, in her own words, Danielle style. Now Danielle says, okay, so Danielle says, okay, I won't read hers because I don't know how long this video is. I don't want to go over. Okay, she says that she was working as a hostess or serving drinks at this nightclub called September's. This is where she met her boyfriend, who claims was a businessman. He didn't say exactly what he did, but he said he was a businessman. That's where she met him. And in fact, I'll read just a little bit. She goes, okay. She goes, I'm in Danielle's book on page 72, second paragraph. She goes, I kept working at September's for a while, long after meeting Jorge. Jorge's her drug dealing boyfriend, but she says she didn't know he was a drug dealer. But shortly thereafter, there was no need to continue. Jorge was not comfortable with my working there, and he was happy to support me. He wanted me all to himself and felt that he could concentrate better on his business that way. I was present for some of his business meetings, often the only woman at the table, but I never asked questions. Besides, his associates usually didn't speak English. They spoke Spanish, which I don't understand at all. Despite the language barrier, I learned a lot of life lessons from being there. I'm smart enough always to keep my mouth shut, especially when I'm under verbal attack. Being around Jorge taught me that. When people say, do you know who I know? I laugh to myself and think, no, I don't. I don't even think you know who you know. Nobody I was ever around who was part of Jorge's world ever talked about whom they knew. Nobody whom I'd been around in the past 47 years of my life who was really connected ever had to brag about whom they knew. It was just understood. In that world, you don't have to name drop. These guys don't threaten people. There is no reason to. They're all doers, not takers. It didn't matter to me that what business he was in. I just loved him and felt safe when I was with him. He could have been selling vacuums for all I cared. Our relationship did not merely consist of partying and doing superficial things together. We had a relationship of substance. Jorge and I had a baby together. So she speaks of that they had a baby together, but she lost the baby. This wasn't meant to be. So then here comes on June 23rd, 1986. She goes, I returned from modeling at a photo shoot, hopefully to see my boyfriend, but to no avail. When I walked into the place where I was eventually arrested, to my surprise, I saw one of my neighbors who appeared to be beaten up and high on cocaine. One night at a club a few months prior, I had introduced my neighbor to a few acquaintances of mine. And the hot Miami nights, everybody is friends with everybody, so I introduced them as my friends. It wasn't meant to be an introduction for business purposes, but it unfortunately ended up that way. And now I was caught right in the middle. My neighbor was obviously involved in a drug deal gone bad, and to assess the damage, I tried to get some answers out of him. What are you doing here? I asked. They stole the SHIT, man. The Jamaicans stole it, all of it, he said. What SHIT? Danielle asked. What Jamaicans? And what are you talking about? Okay, her friend or her neighbor goes, the coke. She's like, what? Please tell me you paid these people. If they don't get their money, they are not going to be happy. That's why I'm here. That's why you got the SHIT kicked out of you too. This is not good. I introduced you to them, and now it looks like you've robbed them. Are you a FUCK idiot? Don't tell me you robbed these people. He didn't answer. I tried to quickly piece the story together. From what I gathered, my neighbor had been given drugs to deliver. He was to collect $24,000 for the goods and bring the money back to the supplier. However, he claimed to have been robbed by some Jamaicans along the way. The whole story didn't add up. I wasn't buying it, and more importantly, neither was anyone else. The bottom line is that with these people, you don't take what isn't yours. My neighbor appeared to have been roughed up. However, he didn't seem to be kidnapped. He wasn't tied up or restrained in any way. On the contrary, he was sitting comfortably in an easy chair snorting coke. I determined from the fast food wrappers strewed all over the place that he wasn't being starved either. It didn't appear that anybody was keeping him there against his will. I assume he didn't ask if he could leave because that would be sure to piss off his new enemies. I knew that the reason he probably was able to walk out with the drugs in the first place without paying for them was because he had claimed to be an acquaintance of mine. He had clearly used me and used my name. Yes, I had introduced him to those guys, but what they did from that point on should have been none of my business. However, because he was screwing them over, it became my business. My neighbor tried to dupe them and made me look really bad. If I left, the guys he stole from would probably have thought that I was involved. The more I think about it over the years, the more I believe that he was hoping they would blame me and hurt me for his misdeeds. What a coward. But what he didn't count on was that I had already built trust with them, so while I had introduced them to a bad business partner, I wasn't going to take the fall for his stupid actions. After I pieced together the info I got out of him, his father called. I had a brief conversation with him about the $24,000 debt and that his son owed and that needed to be paid in full immediately. I believe that phone conversation was taped by the authorities, making me an accessory. So, this is part of Danielle's account of what actually happened. So, of course, naturally, the girls, I'm sure, didn't read that book because if you go back to that reunion, I think Andy asked them, had anyone read her book? And they were all like, no, they didn't. But I don't know if they did or not. But so that's the difference between the two stories. Kevin's is saying, yeah, hey, I met her. She was, with the rest of the coke whores, hence why Jacqueline called her a coke whore. With the rest of them, they met, they started dating. Now, in his book, he says they started dating briefly. One of her friends she either worked at the club or with modeling with moved in with her and Kevin Mayer, and she states that or he states one day when Beverly Danielle Staub was out on one of her assignments or modeling assignments, he and her best friend, got together and did the do. And so, of course, Beverly, a.k.a. Danielle Staub, found out about it. And that's how the relationship broke off and everything. But anyway, he still told her account of, how he knew her. And, there's some really interesting pictures in here, too. There's, here's a picture of Kevin Mayer. So that's the guy who she dated. And then here, take this little pin out. Here is the picture of Danielle Staub, aka Beverly Morrell, at the time of her arrest in 1986. So anyway, So I just wanted to give you guys a brief synopsis of, if you didn't know, already know what they were talking about. So Caroline was like, I need to know who's coming into my circle and stuff. We got friends and family. I mean, you're being accused of, kidnapping, extortion, and drugs, and I mean, I don't want that around my family. And then she said, I didn't like you before this, which I think Caroline's jealous, because Danielle hadn't done anything to her, before this. And for her to go digging up something that happened 25 years ago prior, I just thought was wrong. And I don't think Danielle's supposed to even be talking about this. I mean, she went so far as to move from Miami back home to New Jersey, and she changed her name. So, obviously, she turned state evidence against her boyfriend, to keep herself out of jail. So, anyway, y'all. So that's just a brief synopsis. That's what happens. Kevin says she was, from what he was told from his friend, she was completely in on it. She knew about it. She was there. She talked to the father and said, "Hey, man, you need to pay back this money. You know what I mean? Because you just, like she said, in her book, she said you can't take what isn't yours." So her involvement was, from her standpoint, she was coming to visit her boyfriend. She had no idea that he was engaged in a drug deal that had went bad, and she got in the middle of it, or she became an accessory because she made the phone call to the boy's dad and said, you need to pay this money back, or something bad's going to happen to him, blah, 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 and she should have kept her mouth shut. I tend more to believe Kevin Mayer, because basically, in his book, he just talks about how he met her. He talks about what he was told by his friend, what her background was, and then he goes into talking about his relationship with her, how much he loved her, but he messed up, and of course he goes into detail about his infidelity with her best friend and how all that broke up, and then he continues on about his story in his book. So anyway, if you guys are interested in either of these books, I am interested in book trading. If you have an interesting book that you've already read, and you may be interested in reading one of these books, I am interested in book trading. A book that I wanted to read was the 50 Shades of Grey. So if you've already read that and you're interested in one or both of these, inbox me, let me know, and we can trade books. I can read your books, you can read mine. Take your time. There's no time when they have to be back. And so so if you're interested, let me know. Send me a personal message and say, hey, I'd be interested in reading the books, and I'll give me your address and I'll send them to you. And then the 50 Shades of Grey, that's what I'm interested in. I guess there's 3 trilogies on that. So if anyone has any of those, I'll be willing to swap with that too. So anyway, so this is just my brief synopsis on that, to give you guys a little information on what Caroline was talking about. As far as, let's go back and see what you noticed about these characters. Caroline is the same person she was back in season 1 and season 2, and she's a bully. She's been a bully. She bullied Danielle. Now she's bullying Teresa. I don't believe Teresa is completely innocent in this situation. But at the same time, I do feel like she's being somewhat treated unfairly and stuff. And I'm fixing to come in and I'm fixing to watch last night's episode that Amy uploaded of the first part of the reunion. And then once I watch that, then I'll come back in and do my commentary on that. But I just wanted to do a video response on Amy's question. Let's go back in time for a minute and take a look, and what do you notice about these characters and stuff. So anyway, so that's my thoughts on that. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you liked it, thumbs up. If you didn't like it, thumbs down. If you're gonna thumbs down, at least let me know why. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to my channel. If you support me, I'll support you, and that's how we do here on YouTube. And again, as always, thank you, Amy, for your uploads and commentaries. I love your channels, because I see that you got a new channel where you did your makeup so beautifully. I loved it. So anyway, love you, Amy. Thank you for what you do. Until the next video. Bye, y'all.